Alrighty, hello, this is Kyle, Rambling in a Closet podcast. Thanks for tuning in. A lot has happened since the last time I uploaded. It was like December. It's been 2 months since I said anything on here because I'm so lazy and irregular at actually doing anything. But hopefully that'll change. But my goodness, have some things happened here in the world, right? Am I right? No, don't worry. This isn't going to turn into some political news podcast, I promise you. But oh my goodness. It's been an exciting couple months to some. Actually, no, exciting can go both negative and positive. So I think it's been exciting for almost everybody. Not in the good way, not always in the bad way. I was at the bar working, where I was a bartender. And I had one of the regulars come in. And we and him and I get along great. He's one of the cool regulars. He is one of two that come in. They normally come in together, but it was just he was riding solo this time around, and we got to talking. And he he kind of pulled me aside. He was a little quiet about it because we had some people sitting next to him that he didn't want to impose his political conversation onto them, which is a polite thing to do. And he looked at me. He goes, Kyle, I know who you voted for. I know how you are. I know who you are politically. Is this what you voted for? And it was funny enough. He must have overheard something I said at some point because I don't remember having a political conversation with him. But just by the way he asked that question, I was like, okay, cool. So I know who he is. He's a liberal, right? He's a Democrat. And he said immediately before that he had said, right after he asked me this question, he's like, I'm a Democrat. I'm not like a liberal, lefty kind of guy. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. And I'm not a righty kind of guy. I'm at the heart of my heart, I'm a statelessist. Statelessist. And there's got to be a better word for that. Of course, the other word is anarchist, but everybody thinks of that word in a different way than it is, so I don't want to use it. But yeah, in my heart of hearts, I'm an anarchist. In my realistic mind, I'm just a conservative libertarian kind of guy. And so I'm not like a right-wing, ultra-nationalist, whatever the hell. I don't even know if that's a identity that you can really fall into in America, but whatever. So anyways, he asked me, Kyle, is this what you voted for? And that got me thinking well after the shift, obviously, because we had a conversation, and I might get into what we actually said, but it's kind of irrelevant because the question, is this what you voted for? And it's a really, I don't want to say this because like I said, he's a nice guy, but it's a really arrogant question to ask because think about what that question actually means. Is this what you voted for? What you're kind of saying is, I think things are bad, and so must you, because we both think the same things about the news that's coming out. It's rather arrogant maybe not arrogant. I don't know. I think arrogant's the right word. It's definitely presumptive, and it's a really strange way to get into a conversation about politics, especially this level of political news. Like, talk about full steam ahead. My goodness. There's a lot. But you know what's funny? This was like 2 weeks ago. So by the time he had asked that question, I'm not sure he had seen the news 20 minutes before asking that question because the news was like, this was 2 weeks ago. The news was every day was something different. It's kind of petered off a little bit, but there's still, if I check my Twitter news feed, there's still new stuff popping up all the time. What's funny is the PlayStation outage is getting a lot of traction there. A lot of people are irritated about it, which I understand. Anyways, I digress. By the way, this is going to be a true ramble. I apologize if you like one concise point for half an hour. It's very rare here with me. I hope you understand. But there is a theme, which I will get to. But I think asking, is this what you voted for, is at least presumptive. And, gosh, if I had my wits about me at that moment, you always think of the right thing to say in the shower the next day, right? You're thinking about a conversation you had, and you're like, I could have gone better. And then you think of this amazing response, not like a gotcha response, and not like a, oh, you're stupid response, but just like an amazing response that articulates your position in a smart and understandable way, and that has the possibility of changing their minds. And obviously this was a couple weeks ago, so I've had a lot of time to think about it. And that also means I've had a lot of time to forget about the things that I've thought about. But, I have a way to answer that question. And I might not exactly tell you, or him, the guy at the bar, what I voted for, if this is what I voted for. That's a very obviously complicated question. It's not like I agree with everything Trump is doing. And what's funny is, like, when this guy asked me the question, it was right at the same time that he had just announced his idea for, developing Gaza. And, of course, that was like, oh, I did not like that at all. I do not want to have anything to do with Israel or Palestine. I don't want any sort of American influence there at all. I don't want any money going over there. I want to get out. One of the reasons I voted for Trump. No wars. The first term, no new wars. So that's what I wanted to keep on going. Let's get rid of this Ukraine war, or at least have nothing to do with it. Let's get rid of this Israel-Palestine war, or at least have nothing to do with it. Let's just not go to war for 4 years. That'd be nice. So no, and if we put American boots in Gaza, I mean, we're going to get shot at, and then that's going to be a reason to go to war. So no, let's please not do that. So I was really not happy when Trump said that. I was like, oh, come on. Are you serious? 2 or 3 weeks into your presidency, and you're going to do this? And then the next day, I realized, oh, it's a negotiating tactic. He doesn't want Gaza. He's just trying to get the world to do something about it. Anyways, I digress. That's just my opinion. Might not be accurate. I digress. At the time this guy at the bar asked me this question, is this what you voted for? It's a complicated answer, because at the time, some great things were happening. And I was super happy, especially because I was listening to all the, Senate confirmation hearings for Trump's cabinet choices, and I'm just over the moon. Tulsi Gabbard for DNI. Oh, and of course, the most important one for me personally is RFK Jr. for the NIH, or National Health Society, NHS. I don't know. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. He still hasn't been approved yet. I don't know what's going on. It was supposed to be this week. I'm not sure what's happening. And then Kash Patel for FBI director. I mean, this is great. This is what I voted for. And also, yes, Elon Musk. Yes, I actually voted for. I had someone's. You see it on X all the time. No one voted for Elon Musk to do these things. It's like, no, actually, I did. I'm pretty sure most people did. Actually, I'm pretty sure this is exactly what we wanted. What's going on right now, give or take. But I digress. It's a complicated question, and it's a complicated answer. Is this what you voted for? And so what I want to say is what I didn't vote for. And I can tell him, and I'll tell you what I did not vote for. I did not vote for my tax dollars going to Iraq to fund Sesame Street, their version of Sesame Street. Is it a great thing that Iraq has a version of Sesame Street that the kids can watch if they have a TV? I don't know how Iraq works. I'm sure there's some kind of cities that have TVs and stuff. It might be a really dumb thing for me to say. But I'll be honest. I have no idea what the situation over there in Iraq is. If they want to make Sesame Street or their version of, great, cool. I'm sure it is fine. I don't want to pay for it. $20 million. Now, this is, again, I'm going to digress real quick. I know, right? This is rambling, though. I really don't want to, this podcast is supposed to be about philosophy and thinking and first order thinking and stuff like that. So I don't want to point out something as a fact to use in my arguments, like $20 million to Iraq for Sesame Street, because then someone like you, who might be a little hesitant, go, "What are you talking about, Kyle? I didn't see that. I don't believe that that's a thing." And then I would go, "Oh yeah, well, look at this article here," and then you can go, "Well, I don't really trust that source," which I wouldn't blame you. I do that to people all the time. So I don't really want to point that out. But so I'll be a little bit more vague. I did not vote for my tax dollars to go to the things that my tax dollars seem to be going to at the moment. Here's what I don't want my tax dollars going to. Other countries. Yeah, that would be nice. Foreign aid is taxes from the poor sent to elites in poor countries, the rich and poor countries. I mean, I'm sure there's some use for foreign aid in some ways. And if you're a really successful Western country and you have the biggest economy in the world, maybe you have some kind of, obligation to help out other countries. That could be totally possible. Me as a ardent libertarian, I don't think so. But that's what I didn't vote for. I never voted for that. I've been alive for 28 years, and never once have I ever given my permission, A, to be taxed in the first place, but also B, to send it to other countries who probably don't need it or aren't going to use it properly. I did not vote for feeling guilty to be a white guy. That's what I didn't vote for. And I don't, by the way. I don't feel guilty for that at all. I actually don't really think about being a white guy ever. It doesn't really come into my mind. You know, I didn't vote to hate my country. You know, America's not perfect. We got problems. We've done bad things. Goodness, slavery, Vietnam, the 2 nuclear bombs we dropped on civilians in Japan. We're not perfect. My God. We got issues. You know what I didn't vote for? To not solve those issues. I want to figure out what's going wrong in this country and fix that first before doing anything in any other country. And this isn't some revolutionary thing to say. I'm sure if you even listen to any sort of political podcast or commentary news shows, they say the same kind of thing. So I don't want to repeat what you've already heard. I want to add something different, you know? I didn't vote for government corruption. I didn't vote for celebrating sexual identities, you know? There's a lot of things I didn't vote for, and I don't really want to make this whole entire ramble about what I didn't vote for, because I would need some actual time to think about that, and I'm rambling, so that's not the point. But what I wanted to tell this guy is, I don't really honestly know what I voted for, but here's what I didn't vote for. Everything over the last 4 years is what I did not vote for. Mostly everything. I'm sure something good came out of the Biden administration, but I'm not sure what that is. And, you know, and it's so hard to talk about this without pointing out examples, because I don't want to point out examples, right? Let's take like January 6th, for example. I have a radically different opinion on January 6th than my coworker who's a dishwasher at the restaurant I work at. We were talking about it the other day, and it's like 2 different worlds. We're talking to each other. He has a wildly different opinion on what happened that day and who did what and who deserves what. But I don't want to talk to you now here about January 6th, because I'll say something like X, and then you'll say, wait a minute, what? That's not what I heard. I heard Y. And I'll go, yeah, but look, here's who said X, and here's where you can find it. And they go, well, I don't trust that, source. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. I don't blame you for that, because I'm sure if you told me who told you why, I would say, well, they're not a reputable source of, whatever. So it's hard to talk about politics without bringing up specific, citations or anecdotes or points of information that can be refuted. I want to talk philosophically, first order thinking. And what I voted for was America. And I voted for you. And I voted for the guy at the bar. And I voted for my dishwasher coworker. And I voted for my family members who disagree with me vehemently on some things. I voted for America. I voted for Americans. And you can say, well, I think, Donald Trump is severely not that, anti-American. And that's fine, but I'm just telling you what I voted for because I was asked. And this is my podcast, darn it. I'm really tired of Americans fighting with each other about this kind of stuff. It is really tiring. And that's what I voted for, is to stop this madness. Let's just pretend for a minute. You might think this, which is fine. You're allowed to do that. But let's just pretend. I think we have to pretend, but it might already be happening. In your opinion, that's okay. But for me, I'm going to pretend that Donald Trump is exactly who everybody has been warning about. This terrible fascist, white supremacist, racist, sexist, rapist, pedophile, terrible person. Let's just pretend that's the truth. Well, the best thing for this terrible human being known as Trump, the best thing for him is for you and me to be arguing with each other and to be insulting each other and to be hating each other because of our political differences. The best thing for the ruling elite is for the peasants to be squabbling with each other over the price of dirt. Seriously, right? Because then they can do all sorts of things up top in their castle that would normally irritate us all, but because we have different opinions on the things that they're doing in the castle, we argue with each other about it, and then meanwhile, they keep doing the dirty things in the castle, and they're laughing at us because they're like, look at these silly people. Look at these silly people just quibbling and arguing over the price of dirt while we tax them all and do whatever we want with their tax dollars. Obviously, that's one of the few things that they do. But yeah, I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of. I don't want to argue with you anymore. Not you. You and I don't argue. We have a good time here in this closet. But I don't want to argue with people anymore. I mean, I enjoy it. I do. I do. I do enjoy a good political conversation. I don't want to be called a bad person for it, though. I never do. I will tell you, Scout's honor, I don't call people bad people because of their political beliefs. At least since, I was like a teenager or an immature 20-year-old, Ever since I actually thought about these things, I don't think of anybody any less for their political opinions. I might think, you should probably do a little more reading in some areas, but whatever, Someone's lack of knowledge of political acumen, to me, is just as important as someone's lack of knowledge of Star Wars. I don't think you're any less. If you liked the new Star Wars prequels, I think your taste in movies is terrible. I still think you're a good person. I still want to hang out with you, probably. You're still an American. If you liked the Indiana Jones movie with the Crystal Skull, if you like that movie, that's fine. We can still hang out. It's a terrible movie, if I remember it properly. But we can still hang out. If you like pickles, shoot. My wife likes pickles, and I married her, so that's fine. I am sick and tired of all of these political arguments and this hatred we have towards each other because of who we voted for or who we want to vote for, And you might very well say something like, "Well, Kyle, Donald Trump is the reason why we are where we are. He's so divisive with his words and the way he talks and the way he does things. Like this is why." And I go, "No, I don't think that's true. I think this has been a problem since the beginning of history." I would point, just in my short time on this earth, I would point over at Barack Obama and say, well, he said I was racist for not liking him. He started this crap. But, of course, this crap has been going on forever. If you look back at some of the conversations between the founders of this country, they were insulting each other all the time for their political differences. So this isn't anything new, but I personally am tired of it. And I just wish that we could get to a point where the guy at the bar, we could go like, did you see this thing in the news? And I went, yeah. And he goes, what do you think about it? And I go, well, here's what I think about it. And he goes, huh. Yeah, I totally disagree. Here's what I think about it. And I go, huh. I never thought about it like that. Let's think about it together, and let's talk about it. I know, right? It sounds crazy, but it's kind of fun. And I thoroughly enjoy doing that. There are, what's cool, actually, I will digress a little bit. I work with quite a few, kids, essentially. They're late teens, early 20s. Like, there's one 16-year-old and like two 19-year-olds and a 21-year-old, I think. And what's really cool about them is they are not politically tainted. I don't know what happened. I was politically tainted by the time I was 20. Obviously, they have opinions. Obviously, they have, they're not the biggest fans of XYZ. But what's cool is that they'll say something. They'll bring up something. Let me think of an example real quick. Oh, yeah. So one of the older ones, the older kids... They're not kids, but I still think of myself as a kid. One of the older ones, the 21-year-old, I think, she was saying, something about capitalism being so bad, and that's one of the reasons why we are where we are, and because capitalism, and I think it had something to do with the pharmaceutical companies and the price of drugs and stuff. And I said, everything you just said, I agree with, except for the word you used, capitalism. She's like, what do you mean? And I go, capitalism is simply the exchange of goods and the voluntary exchange of goods and services. That's really all capitalism is the voluntary exchange of goods and services. I am really good at chopping firewood, and you might hate chopping firewood. You might just, oh my God, it drives you crazy. You're not very good at swinging. You're not very accurate, so it takes you forever to chop firewood. but you're darn good at catching fish. So I'll give you some firewood, and you give me some of your, because I don't like fishing, honestly. It's unless I have a beer and some friends, I don't really care for it. But I like fish sometimes, and I'll happily chop some firewood for you if you want to give me a couple of your fish that you caught last night. That's it. That's capitalism. Seriously. And then money is just, one fish doesn't necessarily equal one piece of firewood, so we're going to put a monetary value to it so that we can exchange these things without getting, confused. I'm sure rocks, certain kind of rocks used to be currency in Elden days, back in the day. We just needed something to kind of divide up the value of things. So that's all capitalism is. And I didn't explain all of that to her, but I said, no, capitalism is just a voluntary exchange of goods and services. What you're complaining about is consumerism, which is absolutely a problem in today's society. And she went, and I explained what consumerism was, which is exactly what she was saying it was, or was exactly what her problem was with today's culture. And she went, oh yeah, so definitely, yeah, you're right, consumerism. And what was so cool about that exchange isn't that she said, oh, you're right, that I don't care about that. What was cool about it is that she wasn't tied to it. She wasn't bothered by the fact that I gave her an alternate way of looking at something. I had a friend at Red Lobster. This was back when I was in the girl I was just talking about, when I was her age working at Red Lobster. I had another coworker who was vehemently anti-capitalism, and whenever I tried to explain to her that capitalism isn't what she was saying it was, she would be like, no, you're wrong, you're stupid, I'm a socialist. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not a socialist. You have an iPhone. I would explain, and she was so connected to this personality she had about, and this opinion she had about capitalism, that anytime we had a conversation about it and I tried to kind of, make sense of it, she would get upset. Whereas this girl I work with now, she just went, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. All right, cool. She can still have her opinions that we disagree on, but at least she wasn't tied to something. Her personality wasn't being an anti-capitalist. Her personality was her personality, who also had an opinion with a word that was not necessarily accurate in this situation. And it was really nice because there was no uncomfortable disagreement. It was just, oh no, you mean this word? And she goes, oh yeah, that word. And it's like, okay, cool, let's keep talking. And other than that, we agreed on everything. I think it's terrible. I think consumerism is terrible. I think the pharmaceutical industry is terrible. Absolutely. If you'd asked me 10 years ago about the pharmaceutical industry, I would have said, I don't care. Let people make whatever. People got to make money to make stuff, If you had asked me 8 years ago what I thought about insulin, I would have been like, yeah, you gotta make money from insulin or else you can't make any more. Now I know what's going on. Oh my goodness. That can't be ethical, what they're doing with drugs right now. But if you said, hey, Kyle, no, really, here's actually why insulin should cost this much, I wouldn't get upset with you. I'd go, I might still disagree with you, but I've never thought about it like that. Let's keep talking about it. Now, none of what I'm saying here is revolutionary. I'm just rambling, I guess. I'm a little green in the gills because I haven't talked into a microphone for 2 months, so I apologize if this is rather dry and unrelevatory. But seriously, though, I mean, come on. Let's... I'm done with this whole... So you know what it makes me want to do? It really makes me want to, this guy at the bar who was talking to me. Is this what you voted for? It almost makes me want to say, you know what, bud? I'm actually just not going to engage with you politically for 4 years. After the 4-year mark, when I think everything's going to be much better because of what's happening right now, I'm going to look back and say, yeah, this is what I voted for. And you're welcome. And you don't have to admit you were wrong. You don't have to say I'm right. But your eggs are cheaper. And at the end of the day, that's obviously not what matters. That's not the only... Oh, well, okay, it matters, but it's not the only thing that matters. But it makes me want to just ignore people who voted against what I voted for, because it's like, I know this is good. And if I ever try to talk to you about it, you're going to get up... Not you. Remember, I'm using the proverbial you, not you. You listening, you're awesome. I'm sure you and I would have a fantastic conversation. But the proverbial you, who disagrees with me politically and who gets upset when we try to have a conversation about it. You know, I had a conversation about illegal immigration with someone very close to me that I've known my entire life. And at the end of the conversation, which I can't even call it the end of the conversation because the conversation never ended, they went, you know what? I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm going to go to bed. And I was like, what? You're an adult. Why? You can't use emotional blackmail on me when we're having a conversation about pot. I still like them. I still would love to hang out with them and do things with them. But that was really disappointing to me, was when they said, yeah, no, I'm done talking. And they were visibly upset that I was saying the things I was saying. And I'm like, I don't understand why. That is so frustrating to me. That's how we are as people, is when we can't talk, when we disagree and we get emotional. It's like, I just don't want to talk about it. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to threaten the leaving of myself to stop this conversation. I mean, what the heck, man? That is unpleasant. 100%. That is not great. And I'm done with that. So if we want to talk, that's great. But it makes me, and I'm not saying I'm going to do this because it's very wrong. I am not the kind of person who goes, you know what, we're going to do what's best for you. You're going to disagree with it, but you're going to like it in the end. I don't actually think that. But it makes me want to think that because I don't want to deal with all this emotional blackmail, heated conversation stuff. I'm done with it. I just want to talk and have a good time. So I'm really looking forward to the next 4 years, honestly, because I think it's great what's going on. Obviously not everything, but the majority of it, like DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. By the way, I heard this on a podcast that what they're doing with USAID and other things. It should be, I hope, that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are thinking this way. This should not be blow it all up. This should be open heart surgery. There are probably some things that the government does. Probably. More than likely, I guess. Maybe like 5%, 10% of what the government does that's actually useful. And I hope we don't just blow it all up. Well, I mean, part of me kind of does. But the realistic part of me hopes that we don't just blow it all up in an effort to, complete the mission that they were sent there to do. I hope it's a little bit more judicial than that. But as of right now, let's see. I'm going to do a little test with you before I go because we're almost hitting that 30-minute mark. So I'm going to open up my Twitter. I'm going to go to the search bar and go to news. Okay. Trump's approval soars to records high. Okay, great. Judge blocks Musk's Doge from Treasury data access for a week. Well, that's annoying. Can the judge do that? I don't know, but what I get from that, though, is that Doge is about to go into the Treasury Department. Awesome. And no, I don't care if he has access to my Social Security number. Anybody can get access to that nowadays. It's not that hard. If you're a savvy hacker and you want to hack my stuff, go for it. Steal my identity. Make my life hell. Elon Musk and his 20-year-old Doge employees are not going to do that. Again, I did vote for Elon Musk. Musk highlights flaws in U.S. payment systems. Trump tasks Musk with Pentagon financial probe. By the way, again, I don't want to bring up, data points that can be refuted on this podcast, but everybody agrees with this one, by the way. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, whatever, they all said that the Pentagon has failed 7 consecutive audits. What? Okay, I don't want to overreact, but I mean, seriously. So yeah, Trump and Musk going into the Pentagon and auditing them, great. Honestly, love that. So far, everything looks pretty good. U.S. aid to South Africa cut by Trump. That's great. There are a bunch of racists down there. We should not be giving them money. That's fantastic. Again, not really seeing anything I disagree with at the moment. Yeah, it's all looking. This is definitely what I voted for. All right. We'll talk about something else that's not politics next time, I promise. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this little half an hour, like a true ramble. I don't even know what I was trying to say really in the beginning, but I hope I made a point. Thank you for listening. This is Kyle rambling in the closet. We'll see you next time.